Gary, a couple of days away from that historic grand final night at Old Trafford. We couldn't quite get the win, but everyone's certainly proud of the players and the backroom staff, what they achieved.
Absolutely. You know, when you go to grand finals, you go there to win, and that's exactly what our team did. Just came short on the day. Credit to St Helens, they played extremely well. So that ended in a disappointing result, but I think what had gone on before it has been quite remarkable. Been a remarkable season, really. You know, it started off with so much optimism and confidence, but we were decimated by injuries and suspensions at the early part, and obviously poor form as well. And I think what we've seen in certainly the second half of the season has been a complete transformation. So great credit to Rowan Smith and all the coaching and backroom staff, and the players as well, of course, for a great combined effort. So some thrilling victories, and you know, who could have believed that we'd end up in a grand final, which was great credit to everybody concerned.
When you reflect on the season as a whole, have you ever noticed a remarkable turnaround in form and confidence in a group of players?
No, we've had a lot of remarkable journeys on the way to a grand final, but this season has been the most remarkable. As I said, I've never known a season that's been so affected by injuries and suspensions as this one, and yes, it's been quite remarkable. And you know, we've had, as I said, quite a few epic journeys over the last 20 odd years, but this one really was a phenomenal one, and I think it's captivated the interest of all our fans, all our sponsors who've been terrific throughout, and the players themselves.
And before we start looking to the future, a chance to say goodbye and thank you to a number of people who are leaving the club. The New Zealand game is going to be a special occasion.
Absolutely, we're really looking forward to Leeds Rhinos versus New Zealand. New Zealand have got a great rapport with Hetherington. I think those who came to the 2015 game will remember it as a very special Hetherington event, and this is going to be the same. The New Zealanders are really looking forward to playing on this stage, and so are we, and it's going to be a great opportunity for our departing players to play their last game for Leeds Rhinos in front of our home fans, and for those fans to be able to say their own thank yous to them as well. So all those players who will be playing their last game have given great service to the club, some long term, some not so long term, but all have made a contributing difference to us, and we want to say our own special farewell to them.
And there are, as you mentioned, a number of players leaving. That inevitably leads to questions about the squad for next season, and managing that salary cap and the balance of the squad.
Absolutely, and I think it's fair to say that we are still in a rebuilding phase, and that really started the day that Rowan Smith was appointed, because Rowan obviously inherited both the staff and indeed all the playing group that was contracted for this season and indeed next season as well. And ultimately Rowan's going to be here for the long term. He needs to formalise the squad that he wants in place, and I think Rowan does really encaptures the sort of spirit and the ethos of what Leeds Rhinos have always been, to build a squad based on primarily home talent, primarily players that's come through our system, and emerging players and outstanding players, and to sort of formulate that into an outstanding squad. And at the same time always look to bring in players from occasionally other clubs, players from overseas who can add value. So yeah, there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes, a lot of time and effort spent on looking at the squad for next season, and indeed the new additions that could come in, and the players we desperately want to retain as part of the future going forward.
And when supporters look at the players who are leaving, there's a number of senior players who are leaving. It's not going to be a like-for-like swap for those, because it's not just those players that are being replaced. Younger members of the squad are rewarded for their efforts.
Of course, and it's often a difficult one. I don't think we educate our public well enough as an industry in rugby league. So it's fair to say that a lot of supporters are often confused by how does the salary cap work, and so on. But the reality is that that players who obviously progress get paid better year on year. And that's our policy at Leeds Rhinos. So we've got quite a number of players who have all got enhanced contracts for next year because they've earned that. That takes up a portion of your salary cap. So it means you're not able to retain the same number of players. But at the same time, you also want to look at bringing in new players. That can only be achieved if you let some go. You can only have 25 players, and of course you've got a finite amount of money to spend. So at the start of the season, Rowan really was faced with the dilemma of having a fully spent up salary cap, not only for 2022 but 2023 as well. And so that's requiring a fair bit of surgery and some potential change as well.
But as you mentioned, 2023, there are a large number of players who are off contract next year. Some will stay, some will obviously move on. It's really, do we need to look at this post-season along with next year in terms of the project?
Yeah, I think it is. It's a 2-year plan really. We've got a lot of players, a lot of senior players in particular, into their last year of their contract in 2023. So some players will be coming towards retirement age. So yeah, it is a process of change. And as I said, we've now got Rowan Smith at the helm, who's going to be making those decisions. And this is an emerging Rhino squad. It's not going to be complete. It's going to take several years to get to. And it's never complete in actual fact. It's always a moving feast. But the nucleus is emerging. And I think, one thing that we can be very satisfied with is the amount of quality young players we've got within the squad. As many as anybody else has got in Super League, and that should give us a lot of confidence for the future. And we're looking at having a squad that can be challenging, not occasionally, but every season for the foreseeable future.
And I suppose we take encouragement for what Ryan Smith's been able to do in the short time relatively he's been at the club, particularly those young players, improving them. And then you look at our academy side, champions again, defeated St Helens on Sunday. Yeah,
hugely significant for our academy team to go and be the champions again. And of course the number of quality young players that our scholarship system and our academy is now producing. And that's always been the sort of lifeblood of Leeds Rhinos as well. So I think we can be very encouraged by all that. And I think the quality of staff that we've got within the club as well. Some outstanding backroom staff, people who rarely get recognition. But whilst quite a number are going to be leaving and changing this season, I think we're going to have a very, very strong squad both on and off the field.